welcome to the Pinball Post. This is episode 13, believe it or not. Lucky 13, Curse of 13, whatever it is. Oh boy, right? Another great week for At Games Pinball and pinball in general. A lot of things actually happened this week, so we're going to get into it tonight and talk a little bit about it. It's not all positive, as it typically is not, but I'm starting to get a little more irritated. So we're going to get into that. But we'll first start. Leon, welcome. Thank you for being here. We've got a few people starting to pour in. Digital pinball in and of itself has been a challenging thing as of late, and it continues to be the case. So we're starting to see some stuff where we've had these systems for now a couple of years for some of us. Some of them are brand new, but there's a lot of stuff kind of going on. So we're going to get into it today and really dive into the topics that we got. Lots to talk about. So as we look on the agenda, we're going to talk about firmware again. It seems like every week we're still having to talk about firmware, so that's really disappointing. Welcome to the stream, Soggy Bacon and Hockey Town Arcade. Good to have you guys here. We're going to talk about the Baby Shark reactions, which I thought were very interesting and very polarizing, quite frankly. The game kind of had its interesting little take on it going on. We had a Pinball Bites this week from Zen Studios, so we'll talk about that. And of course, Star Wars Fall of the Empire came out, and I got to play that, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So, Mark's Mental Arcade announcements. Yeah, a little bit. We got some stuff. That's good. So, we'll see. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the negative, because we like to end on good notes, always on here. So we're going to try to do what we can to talk a little bit about the good stuff first, and then kind of go from there. So, let's start out with the bad. Firmware. So this is going to be an ongoing gotcha moment for At Games and really for this entire platform. So we're going to jump over to the internet just real quick here, talk a little bit. This is their website, or website if you will. This is the At Games account on Facebook. So it is their basically business account. I played Baby Shark for the first time tonight, didn't finish a full game. Soggy Bacon, I'm completely with you, man. So, you can see right here, obviously the focus is selling new games, right? Obviously they just released Baby Shark last week. It was a big release, something nobody really seen coming. We got kind of an announcement a week prior to it releasing. It was kind of a big deal. This release is primarily for children, theoretically. However, even though it has a kids mode, which was... anyway, we'll get into Baby Shark in a little bit, but it is interesting that their focus is Baby Shark, clearly. Sales, sales, sales. So let's get into it. You can already tell in the tone of my voice, it's going to get ugly if not, right? So we come down, we talk about Baby Shark, then we talk about Baby Shark again. But what is in the context this time? So, Flipper Friends. So Baby Shark. Okay, we're going to talk about Baby Shark again here in a minute, but it's included in this week's Flipper Friends, and we're going to talk about that. But this ticks me off, and I'll tell you why. But let's keep going. So it's part of the 4K section here. It's part of the HD section here. You go down, you have another sales thing from October 3rd, 2 days ago. They're still trying to sell the At Games Pinball Micro. A great price on this. $325 is a great price for this system. I have one. You can see mine behind me. I love my Micro. It's a great system. I think it'd be great for kids to make them better for harder games in the future. Mark's Mental Arcade, you are not wrong, man. And Ben Han, welcome to the stream. So, yes, the fact that they put it out is awesome. I think it's going to be well received. I really think it has been well received, quite frankly. But what are we not seeing here? Does anybody notice? For all the stuff that's going on in this community, we're hearing all about Baby Shark. Okay, Flipper Friends, new sales. We talk about our Addams Family releasing. Okay, Baby Shark now available. Yeah, okay, from October 2nd. Cool. Okay, yep, Last Call and Micro. Yep, more Baby Shark. Micro. Flipper Friends from last week. Okay, Flipper Friends from last week. Flipper Friends from last week. Game releases. Okay, yeah, we like our game releases. They did a couple of videos on that. Right here is this tiny little snippet here. Okay, September 19th. September 19th, they gave us one update, and it was, hey gamers, we're back with great news following the 16.1.13 release. Our team has been working diligently. We covered this 2 weeks ago. maybe 3 weeks ago when we covered this. So nothing has been done since then, and if it has, we haven't seen the results of it. Very frustrating for this community, I have to say. If you scour over the Facebook groups for different at games groups, you will see people very, very frustrated about all of it. So I'm going to get into one of the groups here real quick and just talk a little bit about that. Sorry about that imagery. That sucks. So right here, this is one that I wanted to talk about real briefly. Ron Snell, a couple hours ago. And I don't know if Ron Snell has ever seen my channel. He probably hasn't. But anyway, locked out again. Unreal. He's made 4 payments in the last 2 months, and he's locked out of his system again. Now, I don't know about you guys, but you know, the affordable financing thing I think should have been a good thing for the community, to get people to buy more units, to get people to get past that initial investment cost of basically $2,000, between $1,500 and $2,000, to get into this event or to get into this system and into this ecosystem. And man, oh man, that's very frustrating. Yeah, I see everybody's talking about Elvira and the IFPA and all kinds of, because yeah, IFPA has not been updated since July. One of the reasons I'm out of Flipper Friends, you're not wrong, Soggy Bacon, but they still continue to push it. But this right here really needs to be the focus. I'm very frustrated with this. I've been largely unencumbered by the problems with the firmware. I'm one of the lucky ones, I think. The people like this that can't even play their systems, they've got solenoids are stuck on if they bought their systems, they're stuck off for some people that want to be able to use them. You got other people who just can't even use the system at all because of they bought a system they can't get in because of it not having a Kohl's sign-in code or things like this. People still waiting, having a hard time buying games. If we jump over to the system real quick, right here, Magic Castle. Magic Castle has still not been updated. That's been at, what's it been? If I should have went back and looked at the release date for Magic Castle, but this game has not been patched. To my knowledge, it's still not available on the HD for purchase. But you can, and most of us already bought it for the 4K system, and it's still not patched. So that game is basically rendered useless until they get it fixed. So that is certainly something to be very frustrated about. So yeah, it's been pretty frustrating when it comes to that. And if you, I mean, it kind of comes down to this, right? We're seeing all these things happening with our systems. They're getting older. And Soggy Bacon, you're in the stream, so this is, or in the chat, so this is actually really good. I brought a picture of your problem to the show tonight. So this here, not the cleanest fix, but electrical taping. This is his plunger. So this is the plunger on his 4K system, and I could tell you what, there has been, these systems have been out for a couple years now. I don't know. Okay, let's put it in the chat. Of the people in the chat, how many of you have not had a single issue with your 4K or HD? Not one issue. Put a 1 in the chat if you have no issues with your at-game system at all. I'm not talking about login issues. I'm not talking software. I'm talking about hardware. Flipper buttons that have gone to hell, exciters that have gone to hell, sound effects kit that doesn't work, plunger that went broke, switches that went bad. Put a 1 in the chat if you have no problems whatsoever in your system. I'm going to bet that there's not going to be very many 1s in that chat. So that's what I'm getting at. These systems are getting older. We're starting to need replacement parts. And with all of the issues on the software side, it's continuing to be a real problem here. So I'm really starting to get, getting locked out as an issue. Yeah, Human, it actually is. Now this is not for people who people who bought the system outright are not getting locked out. This is only for people who did the affordable financing program from AtGames. The other people, if you bought a system and you bought it on Kohl's, or I believe, I think Sam's Club was selling them for a while. They might be selling them currently now, but people had bought them. They couldn't log in because they didn't have their purchase codes or their receipt numbers and things like that. So there's quite a few issues with that. Saki Bacon says the Magic Castle Deluxe is the only table I don't own because it's released broke. Yes. Chalada Love, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I mean, firmware issues, hardware issues, and I haven't seen a single one in the chat. So clearly, all of you have had some level of issue with your hardware on @Games. So that's concerning. But I think it's going to be part of the reality kind of going forward here. You bought with the affordable finance, but paid it off in one payment and still got locked out. Human, that is, dude, that is sucks to hear, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, this, again, they're the firmware updates that they had. That was, first of all, that was not prompted. They didn't tell us it was coming. It was, you turn your system on and guess what? You have to update. And Chalada Love, I mean, you're another one. You do not have any sound on your Gottlieb games. That's a big problem. So, yeah, they took them out of Flipper Friends. We had to praise them for that. That was a smart decision. But when it comes to Flipper Friends, let's talk about that for a second. Flipper Friends. You know, they're still selling Flipper Friends as a viable, cool option, right? That's all fine and well. But if we jump back to their Facebook page, and we'll do that real quickly, let's talk about that. So, we talked about Baby Shark, and here's the screen. So there's Baby Shark for this week's Flipper Friends and for the HD Flipper Friends. Now, reactions for Baby Shark have been very good. I think most people have really appreciated the game. I know even half a dozen Six, half a dozen, or also he's called Six, on Chaotic BPR's show, Yo Retro, even gave it an 8.5. He loves this game. Believe it or not, this guy is, like, what was he thinking? He lost a lot of street cred that night, but he does like Baby Shark. I myself like Baby Shark. I think there's a lot of value in that game. The biggest problem is the scoring. They included a kids mode, which you can select. It's shark mode and Baby Shark mode. If you're not familiar with this, I think everybody's familiar with Baby Shark at this point. It's been covered ad nauseum with all the reviews, all the live streams, all of the content creators. We've all covered it. And there's still more coming. Wizard Room next week, not this week. He's taking a week off because he's going to be out. But on the 13th, they're going to be doing a Jaws, or kind of like a shark theme, kind of like a Shark Week, if you will, which will include Baby Shark, Sea of Thieves, and, of course, Jaws as their playable titles for that week. But the interesting part is that the Baby Shark mode scores will still upload to Flipper Friends. So, yes, people are playing Baby Shark mode. And I called it the day of that this game released. I did a short and said this game will have 4 billion by the end of the day. And sure enough, somebody had posted 4 billion points by the end of the day on Flipper Friends without fail. And it just is, I cannot believe it. It has happened. We're going to jump over to the leaderboard for this just briefly. See if we can look up Baby Shark. Look at this here. And look at, now it's 6 billion points. People. Spartacus was the one who got 4 billion points on day 1. That's the day it released on 10/2. And there it is. And now it's up to 6.3 billion points. If you look at weekly, because of the Flipper Friends event, these are all brand new scores. If you look at the 5th here, the 5th, 4th and 5th, last couple days, those are all pretty up there. So, yeah, I mean, if there was any question about whether or not Flipper Friends was about competition, clearly it cannot be based on this. So, very unfortunate. I had high hopes that they would have some level of way to stop that from happening, and it just has not happened. So here is the scores for Baby Shark. You can see you've got 7 people in the billions, and there are some mega scores here. My score I put up, I did about 1 ball and I kind of killed it, and I actually did this on stream, and I'll actually show you that in a second. So, dude, you're gonna love it. So, level 6 of Mox's Discord. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about VPX tonight, too, so that was really cool. We had a good announcement with that, too. So, I'm getting behind on the chat here. Does @Games not watch all their YouTube videos? The community will constantly bring up issues, and it's like they're ignoring us on purpose. Yeah, Mark, you're right, man. Flipper Friends is something for rookie owners to do, which is great, but a lot of people have found better alternative tournaments. That's true. And I'm sure Soggy Bacon's going to bring up the daily grind on my Discord. That's been a big one that people certainly have appreciated. So if you're not in my Discord, let me know. I can drop a link in the chat or the description of this video if you want to get in and play that. We do a daily tournament. I've talked about it before, but anyway, Skull Joe, welcome to the stream, buddy. And Pinball Wizard, I did see you. Spartacus, you're here as well. We just covered your scoring, so yeah, man. Flipper Friends, all about the they give away gift cards, but they really want to sell you a product. They're not. This is not a competition. We talked about the IFPA. We did talk about that briefly. Let's jump over here real quick. Talk about the virtual ratings. So these say they've been updated on October 6th, which is tomorrow. So that's interesting. But what's actually the case, if you pick on any of these additional tables, I better not check on Mad Ben. He doesn't necessarily play every week. I know Skull Joe pretty much plays every week. So he will not have any scores recently. So look at July 17th is the last time it's been posted. Last time it's been updated. So that's been really unfortunate. So we're not seeing that. Yes, I've got Skull Joe on my screen here, so give him a round of applause. He's a great player, a wonderful great player of this community. He's 5th currently on that, so that's really cool. But yeah, Flipper Friends is not what people have made it out to be, and that's starting to get really frustrating. So at any rate, Flipper Friends, I'm really frustrated with. I really had high hopes. If we look at Baby Shark as a whole, I think we'll jump over to it real quick and just kind of show it for reference here. Baby Shark. I'm not gonna do the song. I almost broke into it there, but I'll try not to do that. So let's go to the stream cam live here for just a second. So this is Baby Shark if you've not seen it. The game itself is actually pretty darn cool. There's some really cool modes here with pal mode, and there's skateboarding and I think bodyboarding, surfing. There's a couple different things you can do in it. It's got a Clam Jam multi-ball, which is pretty cool. Shark Family multi-ball is also really cool after you get the characters. The big thing about it obviously is the Baby Shark mode where the cylinder comes up. It lasts for a full 90 seconds, which is pretty awesome if you're a kid and you need that additional support and additional help to keep the ball from going out the center. The out lanes in Baby Shark mode are completely sealed, so the ball cannot go out at all on the out lanes. So it makes it really incredibly easy to play this game. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is this. You're gonna love this. Let's go to, that's not the picture I want. This is the one I want. I'm gonna jump over to my YouTube channel just for a quick second, and I am gonna showcase something that I found to be absolutely ridiculous, and I think you guys will appreciate it. So, I did a pinball at night the other day. On Friday night, my wife was out of town, and so I decided I'd go ahead and do it. Did a really cool stream. And right here, I'm going to jump over. You don't need to hear the audio on this, but well, here, I'll turn it up so you can hear the audio, and just check this out.
We got to stop playing by Baby Shark. I don't want to play this anymore. This is not cool. Come on, I can't even let the ball drain, for God's sakes. Get out. Ball, leave.
I'm trying to get the ball to leave.
Here, let's do this for a minute. Here we go.
Check this out.
Backwards. I was cheating. I was looking at the screen. I can't do that. Here we go. The whole Baby Shark. There you go. Let's see how we do.
So that is a little snippet. Now this goes on. I think I did this for what, a minute and a half. I'm not even looking at the table, folks. This is Baby Shark mode. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous, is it not? I mean, I'm sorry you have to see the back of my fat head, but the point is still made. This is ridiculous. If somebody doesn't even have to look at the table, and I want to say, during this minute and a half or however long this is, I actually put my score from 100 million to almost 200 million within this time frame, and I actually scored more points behind my back than I did looking at the table. So at any rate, I just thought that had to be shown. That went on forever, and I thought it was crazy. So I would love it for it to update every week. Yeah, the IFPA, if it did update, School Joe, you were right. It would be awesome, man. It really should update after the tournament ends each week. Updating every 2 or 3 months is not acceptable, Mad Ben Han. And you are you're the best player on our tournament, and you agree with the rest of us. Like, it should be updating. There should be incentive. They made it a thing. They didn't have to make it a thing, but they did. So why not take care of it? If it weren't for the 4K community and YouTube channels and Discords, I would have upgraded to an Elite V pen already. I enjoy my 4K pen a lot, but not as much as I enjoy the community. And thank you for that, Soggy Bacon. That means a lot to me as a creator and as somebody who runs a Discord. That you're very much a active participant in, as well as the tournament. So these are all things that I'm like, man, you don't mind having Baby Shark mode. It's a great idea for kids, but it shouldn't have been considered in scoring. Absolutely right, and that's the premise that I think really needed to be focused on. So I'm really disappointed in that. And I'm also very disappointed in Dennis B. Where the hell have you been? My goodness. So anyway, I gotta call him out on that. Where the hell have you been? I'm sorry, by the way, update on the chair. It's still shipping. I haven't got it yet. I'm sorry. Stupid chair. I'm trying not to move. Okay, so that is firmware issues. That is Flipper Friends issues. We've talked about Baby Shark. I think we've talked enough about Baby Shark, quite frankly. Let's get into some better news. So we had a Pinball Bites this last week, and we'll talk about that briefly. We'll let this one run. I think we all knew it was going to be Party Monsters. We all talked about it, and here it is. Pretty cool looking game, I gotta say. So, I did do a little bit of research on this. Did you know that Elvira and the Party Monsters, this game came out on Pinball Arcade 9 years ago? I found a quick video on this from 9 years ago where it was being played on, obviously that was by Farsight Studios, I recall, back on Pinball Arcade days back in the day, but it was already a thing. So the fact that we're getting Elvira, Party Monsters, is really, really cool. You can see the animation on this is pretty cool. The characterization's not the greatest, but hey, it is Elvira. It is pretty cool. Obviously coming to all 9 platforms. This is coming out on October 16th. So that's got to be super exciting for everybody. I know it's been talked about that we got Scared Stiff. So we got that one. So there's Scared Stiff. That is coming soon. Baby Shark live stream. We already covered that. And then Elvira Party Monster. Sorry about this. Image is not the greatest. So I guess you could say that we're getting a double feature. Are we not? A double feature? Anybody? No? Okay. Double feature. Elvira double feature. October 16th. Anyway, so I thought that would be fun. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the content creator calendar. So I know we try to cover these. I try to cover this in my Discord as well. So this week, super excited for Elvira. Hope they don't censor anything on the 4KP. We can hope. Elvira can roast my weenie. Come on now. That's a bratwurst and you know it. Anyway, better late than never. Soggy Bacon's talking about Dennis B being late, and he is. We've already covered censored versus Steam version on Mad Ben. Yeah, they've covered that too. They did show. I have not seen the censored version of Party Monsters, if there is one. Luckily, Party Monsters really doesn't have anything going on the back glass, so we're not gonna have to worry about back glass integration on that one. But certainly on Scared Stiff, the spinning spider is probably not gonna be there. It'll certainly be there in VR. Anyway, this week for October, there will be no Wizard Room, as I said. I think it's a full moon, and I think Tomato Grass turns him to a wolf. I think that's why he's not doing it tomorrow. That's my take. So they're not going to be doing any Wizard Room next for this week. It will be the following week. So this week of the 13th will be the Shark Week that they're doing. So that will be covered. This week, I think, and I have not got any confirmation on this yet, but I think Tropical Deluxe is probably going to drop on the 8th. So I'm hoping to hear probably Tuesday afternoon, maybe evening, about Tropical Deluxe being released. We have not heard that that's coming. I kind of thought it was going to be last month, but it did not come. So we'll see what happens with that. So there's a good chance, and I left it on the channel for this week, that Yo Retro might in fact be on Thursday night, just in case. And then Chalada Love, you're in our chat. We love you. We support you. He does his Tuesday and Thursday streams for Flipper Friends and for VPX. Also, with VPX being back, that's super a huge thing. So yes, Shark Week. And then the following week is Elvira double feature. However, the biggest thing about this is I am not actually going to be able to stream Elvira for 16th. I actually put it on here so that I was going to do it, but I'm actually going to be going to the Pinball Expo in Chicago through Thursday morning to Saturday night. So I will not be available the 16th, 17th, or 18th. The stuff that you'll be getting on my channel is going to be from the Real Pinball Show. I'll be doing some live streaming. I'll do some shorts, obviously, quite a few different shorts of different things. I will be covering a little bit of the VR version, so I'm going to try to figure out how to cast some of that, so that'll be huge. John Simmons, welcome to the stream, buddy. So, yes, there is plenty of content coming. I'm still not past the fact that I still think they're going to drop the next volume, volume 7, right? I believe. Now I have to look. I did it to myself. I should have looked that up. So let's look real briefly. I know we'll jump back over here. So we've got most of these packs already. Now again, this is the tentative. This was the old calendar. Just take this with a grain of salt. But these were the games we were supposed to get. We did get Whitewater Roadshow and Hurricane. We've gotten Tales of Arabian Nights and No Good Gophers, but we did not get Circus Voltaire. That's still out there. We just got Funhouse, Space Station, and Dr. Dude. The next one in that line of progression would be Volume 7, Swords of Fury, Whirlwind, and Bride of Pinbot. This says 8/13. I mean, could that be in the next 2 weeks and put it in October? I could see that. One thing I will wonder, though, is will the release of Elvira kind of push that down the line? I would think that it would. Really, Swords of Fury would be a good one for the Halloween time, but maybe not, so we'll see that. It's the Bride of Pinbot pack, yes. So, and a lot of people love Bride of Pinbot. I'm not a big fan of Pinbot. You've seen it on my live, if you watch my live stream, not necessarily you did. I turned off Pinbot. I got sick of playing. I just turned it off and said I'm not going to do that. I do love Whirlwind, though. That's the highlight for me for that pack. That's another Pat Lawler game, another 3-flipper game. It's basically Funhouse flipped. It's a great game. And then, of course, we got Williams Pack 8. You know, Black Knight, Earthshaker, Bonsai Run. Bonsai Run's got that backlash. We're probably not going to get that one. They're probably going to kick that one out. Still haven't got Safecracker. And then the elephant in the room and everything on here that you guys are going to scream about is Star Wars. Star Wars has still not come. We haven't got any announcements. I think that's all going to get pushed to next year, quite frankly. I think they're going to kick out Zen Originals the rest of this year. They're gonna knock out the Williams tables first. They're gonna get those to come to at games and probably to VR, and then what'll happen is they will dump them along with the other games, the Zen Originals, I would imagine, to the at game system, maybe to VR, maybe. I don't know. We might not get Zen Originals on VR, but it is what it is. Every table that comes out for the 4KP is officially something to satiate me until the Star Wars tables are dropping. Lots of great tables, but they're not Star Wars. Yep, you're not wrong, man. The Star Wars tables, I will say, if you look at those in VR, and I know that's maybe not the best way to look at them, you can play them all in Pinball FX, but I use, when I'm looking in VR and I'm looking at those, you'll notice if you look at the Star Wars tables, some of them are incredibly wide. Those tables vary in size a lot. In VR, I think there was 12 tables included in that pack. Maybe just 10. Is it 10? There's 2 rows of 4, and I think there's a row of 2. But every single one of those tables, as you go through that selection, those tables just get so wide. They vary drastically. So Star Wars tables, I still think are going to be an issue on the 4KP. If people didn't like Wild West Rampage and the Scrunched Ball, or even Twilight, or Twilight Zone, not Twilight. Nobody wants it. Hey, why hasn't that happened yet? Have we not got a Twilight pinball machine yet? Ugh. Somebody would love that table. We got Harry Potter, Anyway, Andy Dufresne is still writing his letters for the Star Wars tables, and Dennis B, you are doing God's work by posting every single day when at games with a Star Wars short. But you're gonna run out of Star Wars tables before they post anything. So sadly for that. Oh man, yeah, I know. It's tough. It's a tough one for sure. Okay, so we've talked about firmware, we talked about Flipper Friends, Baby Shark reactions, and Pinball Bites, Elvira double features. We talked about a lot of good stuff. We even talked about new games coming. That's a possibility. So that has been the big stuff. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about real pinball. So, hey, Ryan, what's going on, man? I'm number 1 on Wild West Rampage. I can handle scrunched. I love that, Soggy Bacon, about you. So, yes, I like Wild West Rampage, too. I really like that game. I didn't think it was that bad. I know people find it is a little different. What I will say that I have a problem with, the shots on Wild West Rampage are hittable. Okay, but if you play Star Trek Next Generation, those the shots when they do when the probes shoot, those crossing shots from the 2D perspective is very, very difficult. So I will talk about it here just briefly. We'll just jump over to it. Let's do here. So, nope, we need to go to the stream cam. All right, so yeah, this is Star Trek Next Generation. You'll notice here that you've got these probe shooters from the right and left-hand sides here. Those shots to the upper side of the playfield are incredibly difficult in a 2D perspective for this. So, to me, scrunched is not the problem. It's aiming across the table like that. If there's going to be stuff that has to be like that, the aiming on this table is very skewed. It's very difficult to do. I just find that my typical 25% shots, like I did my whole how to do pinball aiming and shooting 101 on my You Suck at Pinball tutorial series, and a lot of the rules don't apply to this game very well because of the way the game is skewed in just such a way. So it's really tough to see. That one's really tough, to be quite honest. So lots of brown. Yes, Soggy Bacon. It's a lot of brown. People complain about it a lot. I do love it. I think it's a great game, and it will always stay in my favorites list. I just think it's a great game. But at any rate, let's talk a little bit about what's new, like actually new. We had kind of a big announcement as of recently. Not necessarily for us, but it was Star Wars related, so you guys might be excited. Is it just a wide body thing, Cody? Yes. And welcome to the stream, buddy. The wide body tables, obviously you're restricted on the 4KP to the aspect ratio that you have. I want to say this is still a 16 by 9. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's still 16 by 9, right? Or is it 16 by 8? I think this is a little bit more narrow than a typical 16 by 9. I could be wrong on that. And some of those wide body tables would have done really, really well with a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, so that we could have had some flexibility, but still we would have got black bars or something on the edge if we did that. People would complain about that too for the majority of the games. So in retrospect, it's probably better to do a 16 by 9 aspect ratio and just scrunch the wide body tables just a little bit, and then play with POV a little bit to try to get them to work. I think it was a good choice, but it is something that gets talked about for sure. So this happened this last week. This game, Star Wars Fall of the Empire, was announced by Stern not too long ago. This is a John Board table. And this one's pretty exciting. I got to play it yesterday for the first time. It released, I am in the Metro Detroit area, so Brighton, Michigan. The place is called The Arcade. So it's really hard to say that I went to The Arcade because people don't understand that. But it's called The Arcade. So I always try to emphasize that so that people understand where it is, that it's an actual place. It's not just in arcade, it's The Arcade. And you always have to kind of say Brighton, Michigan, so people know where the heck that is. So anyway, I played this table. I really love it. I gotta say, I absolutely fell in love with this table. It was one that I did not expect to like. I am not a huge Star Wars fan, quite frankly. Here is the playfield for this. So, appreciate the insight. Yeah, absolutely, man. 90% sure that picking up Fall of the Empire Premium. Tell me about your experience with the table. Give it a grade 1 to 10. Okay, so this was Fall of the Empire. Now this table layout, first of all, it's a basic fan layout. So some people will hate that just based on that. This is a 2-flipper game. So you don't have additional control in any way, shape, or form. What I will say, there are 2 bumpers. Do you see these bumpers at the bottom of the table? You got a bumper on the left-hand side here. See, you can see my flipper here. See if I can get this to work. Yeah, look at that. So you got a bumper on the left side, and then you have a bumper on the right side. These 2 bumpers can really be dangerous. They will throw a ball down the middle pretty quickly, but they also equate for a lot of different ways to do skill shots and different things like that. I think, Soggy Bacon, you might have been the person to tell me that there are like 13 different skill shots on this table. Maybe 11. I think there was 11 now that I think about it. You basically get a skill shot every time you plunge the ball, whether it's light and it comes around and you take a shot up one of the lanes. If you hit a bumper, you get a skill shot. If you hit an in lane, sometimes you get a skill shot. It's crazy. You get a skill shot all the time. But this table is, I think it's fantastic. I see what I did there. I didn't even mean to do that. I'm sorry, guys. Yes, it's fantastic. It is a great table. It is a lot of fun. So I'll show you just a little bit of gameplay. Well, I'll just have it running in the background. How's that? We can do that. Because I played it and I love this game. So there is the gameplay. This is 4K 60 footage that I took. I talked to the owner and he was gracious enough to let me bring in just a tripod and a cell phone. Not the greatest imagery, and if you look at this, this particular one, this was literally the first time I played the game. This goes on for a full 30 minutes, but this color shift is really, really cool. It goes from this bright, brilliant blue to this deep, deep red. This happens during the Rancor Jabba Palace, and there's one other type of mission. There are 3 different missions with Jabba's area that can all shift it to red and do different types of missions. And then Vader on the far left here. I don't know if I can do this here. Yeah, see Vader is right here just above that left bumper. If you shoot that now with the new code 0.83, you can actually do Vader missions now, where it'll also turn bright red, and there's some really cool modes and a lot of achievements and things about the table. The footage, the movie footage that they use and the callouts and all that stuff is really awesome. If you get one of those Vader modes, you can actually, he does that chokehold on the one of the soldiers from the movie, which is really, really cool. Anyway, it is really a fantastic game. So Soggy Bacon, I know you're gonna pick on me about a rating for this. I have to rate this thing. This is one of my favorite tables that I've really played. But I got to thinking about it because I think I'm going to give this table at least a 9 right out the gate. And I don't give out very high scores to a lot of pinball tables on the real pinball side, because it's very complex for me, because I like a very playable table. I love fan layouts, first of all. I'm skewed on that way for that thing. It's an achievement on the table, hitting all 11 in one game. The dev said it would be a hard achievement. Wow, Soggy Bacon, you're not kidding, man. And the gameplay footage you had was awesome. Thank you for that. Dude, I appreciate that. It's poorly lit in here. It's incredibly loud. If you listen to these, you almost have to watch them on mute. There is so much noise in this arcade. And this 30 minutes was the first 30 minutes of the arcade. There's like nobody there. But they do have these Japanese games that have like a slap nudge rhythm aspect to them, and those guys in the background. And they're, mind you, they're 20 feet away around the corner banging on those things, but you could still hear them in every one of my videos. It is absolutely insane. This table is beautiful. You could see just the color shifts on it are really, really, really pretty. We'll jump to the other video that I did real here quick too. It's a really cool game. I would give it a 9. This is a more zoomed in approach. I think this footage actually looks a lot better. And this is where I got my good score. So this table, first of all, look at this thing. It glows. It absolutely glows. It's really pretty. It's blue. Were you able to activate the forced ball save? Yes. And I want to say, let's see if I can try to capture it here. You will see it at one point here. Let's see if I can find it. What happens is it's Yoda's eyes will be glowing, and you'll have the button below you is this the typical stern button right on the thing there. Yes, he did it in gameplay. Yeah, it's not what I thought it would be though, because here I actually shifted it down a little bit, so that's good. Let's see. I want to see if I can find this stupid thing. It is a really cool thing. Oh, I didn't do it there. I'll see if I can find it. But yes, the force save, when you hit that force save, the ball will magnetize to the spot shown here. See where the pinball is directly below there? That's not a post. That's actually a pinball that they have on the actual playfield. It'll magnetize directly to that spot, and it'll hold it for a second. And then it will just go, whew, and it just throws the ball straight up in the air. And it'll throw it all the way up to about here. So it'll go way up to here. So the magnets will throw that sucker right up into the middle of the playfield. And what happens is, sometimes it'll throw it directly straight up, and if you don't slap nudge this thing to get it to one of the flippers, it's still going out. So it's not a perfect crazy thing. There are times you're going to lose that ball regardless anyway. So this footage was taken later on when I actually played the table quite a bit, and I knew quite a bit more what I was doing. This is the multi-ball, so that's no good. That's where I had my best game though. I had 157 million points by hitting this Death Star multi-ball. So you hit the Death Star 3 times. You have to hit it once to unlock it, and then you hit that. You see right there, the Death Star actually opens up. And now I'm going to rest the ball on the right flipper and try to shoot that Death Star. You have to do that 3 times to get Death Star multi-ball. People have been complaining about it again and again and again. It's so hard to hit apparently. So anyway, I am going to mark this, how to do this. If I could, I wish I could find the darn thing where I did an actual force save, but I do it during the stream here at some point or another. It is really cool. It grabs the ball and throws it up in the air, but you do have to kind of nudge. I got it to be a little better. I actually got better about nudging the table as the ball was going up, as opposed to waiting until it got to the top, just so that it could force it over a little bit. And you can actually move the ball quite a bit. I actually nudged it so hard when it threw the ball up one time that I actually got it to go all the way into the in lanes. So you can really go crazy with that thing. Saves send to the plunger. Yes, I did see that too, Soggy Bacon. If the ball goes in the left in lane, right here, look at, I almost pulled that ball all the way through there. If it goes down the left in lane when that ball's rolling down, if you hit that plunge button, sometimes the magnet will activate and it'll throw it all the way back into the plunger lane, which is really cool. So it's like you're capturing that power of that magnet and kind of throwing the ball around. See, I was hoping I'd have it here. Like, darn it. So, and that's where I cut it off. But man, oh man, it is really cool. I wish I knew exactly where it was in the picture here, but so anyway, I would give this table a 9. I loved this table. It is awesome. It is an awesome table. I couldn't even hear it. I know it would be even better if I was to be able to listen to it and hear all the clips and all the wonderful music. It could be so much better in a quiet environment. Even in this environment, I was absolutely digging it. I kept coming back to it. I was surprised at how many people weren't playing it. I don't think people knew that it was new. I think that they're used to having a lot of Star Wars tables around. We have lots of different Star Wars tables. We have a home edition, which is pretty crappy. Right here, look at, there's the ball held. There it gets thrown up. Boom. So there you go. That's the force save. It's pretty cool. So yeah, let's watch that again. You'll see it here in just a second. It is really cool. That force save is pretty wild, man. To have that ball be captured like that, you don't see that in any other game, obviously. We've had different ways that magnets throw your ball around and can really screw you up. For example, Galactic Tank Force, I played a lot yesterday too. That one has a magnet which will actually... Is this one that I saved it? No. It seems like every time I lost the ball, I would get used to it and do it the next time. Man. So anyway, that was the force save for that. Yes, I give this table a 9. I love this table. But the question I have really is, are modern tables too complex? And that was something that I had to start talking about a lot this week, is I've started to think to myself, I think tables are too complex nowadays. So I am going to go back to the picture for this. So this is Star Wars. This is a basic fan layout, and this reminds me a lot of the tables that we have in the 4KP, those classic Williams tables that are all so good. John Borg got a lot of grief for this table being too simple, too basic, playing to a Star Wars crowd that is not a pinball crowd. I think that is unfair. This table is awesome, and I very much love all pinball tables in a lot of different ways. Galactic Tank Force will rattle your feelings. It will, Soggy Bacon. That is a great game. The utilization of the shaker motor in that game and the magnets is so cool. Anyway, you get me off track. Is this table too simple for people? That's my question. And the reason I'm going to say that, we're going to talk about, so this is a modern table that just came out, right? What's next? This is Harry Potter. So Harry Potter, this is a Jersey Jack game that just came out, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago? I can't believe it's been out 2 months, but I think it's been 2 months already. Harry Potter, this is a very, very different looking game. Look how complicated this thing is. This game covers all 8 of the movies, so it's insane. Isn't there 9 movies? I thought there was 9 movies. I'm pretty sure it said 8 though. I know there's 8. There's 6 included in modes, and then two movies, 7 and 8, are apparently included into the wizard mode for this table. Ironically, wizard mode, right? But this table is incredibly complicated. Look at the top third of this table. It is jam-packed with crazy lanes and rollovers and switches, and the shots are all crazy. The tower in the center here, this tower right here, can flip, I think they said 13 different ways to be able to kick that ball out in different directions and kind of do things there. It's insane. So I got to thinking, this table I played, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I definitely was willing and able and looked forward to going back to Star Wars after playing this a few times. Just the shots are so much more fun. I found the table to be a lot smoother and had better flow. These tables are so complicated, and the rule sets are insane if you look at these. I think Fall of the Empire appeals to Star Wars lovers who are newer to real pins, noobs, me, who have money to burn on pinball. Soggy Bacon. This is so. It's a good point, because there's a few tables that I would want to own. I would actually want to own Star Wars Fall of the Empire. And Soggy Bacon, I think that's the biggest endorsement I can give it, is that is a table that I would actually love to own. The tables that I would like to own, there's only a handful that I really like. I love Black Knight Sword of Rage. Again, very simple table. Fan layout. 2 flippers unless you get the premium or the limited edition version. Just 2 flippers. And it's just a super playable, super beautiful table. It has really cool voice work, really good music. Harry Potter, on the other hand, this is a 4 flipper game. There's a little flipper up in the upper left here, and the Quidditch area here. You've got one over here. And then you have the 2 primary flippers. I think this game's too complicated. Let's look at another one. King Kong. This one just came out for Stern not too long ago. This is 6 months? Maybe it was May? I think it was May. King Kong, another one. This is an extremely complicated format of a table. The left side of this table is really jam-packed with things. The right side's a little more open. You have nice shots up the middle. This table has incredible flow, I will say that. The shots on here are more unique than anything I've ever played. I love this table, but it is very complicated. There's a lot going on. A lot more mechanical means for failure. So there's that. It's a very interesting table for a lot of different reasons. But it got me thinking, okay, here's all three of these tables. Seasoned pinheads seem to really like Harry Potter, King Kong, etc. Complicated, different, a new challenge. The seasoned pinheads are next level. I'm not there yet. Soggy Bacon, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I've played a lot of pinball myself. I've played a lot of classic tables. I love a lot of classic tables. And so when I look at these three tables, the one that makes me want to stand up and go play it is Star Wars. And it's not because of the IP. It has nothing to do with the IP. None of these IPs I'm directly connected to any more than the other. The ones that I like Jurassic Park, that's another one I really like. It's not a super complicated game. When you start to start looking at some of these tables side by side, you realize that ones you like and ones you don't. I really like Stranger Things. Again, pretty simple table. It's a Brian Eddy table. He's got a very simple format. You got the projector in the middle, 4 drop targets, a couple of ramps and orbits. Pretty simple table. The Mandalorian, Brian Eddy table, that one's a little more complicated. That one I like, but again, there's a lot more going on with it. That's kind of like a newer version, or the kind of older version of like a King Kong. There's some really cool shots, a lot of tandem stuff that you can do. But that one's only 2 flippers. So that one I like a little, well, unless you can include the flippers on the upper playfield, I guess, the helmet. But of these tables, which ones do you guys want to play the most? Who here, go ahead and put in the chat. If any one of these tables speaks to you more than any other, have pinball tables gotten too complicated? That's the bigger question that I have, more so than anything. I'm the same RTX, except I love the Star Wars IP. Fall of the Empire made it for me. Okay, interesting. See, again, not being much of a Star Wars fan, the last thing I would think of is to buy a Star Wars table. The one thing I will say about buying a Star Wars table is that it will always have resale value because it's Star Wars. That was part of my reasoning for thinking about getting a Mandalorian table, because you could always sell that table. Somebody's gonna love Mandalorian. I love the music in that table. I love the show. That's the one Star Wars side movie show that I really like is Mandalorian. I love the Mandalorian. But have pinball tables gotten too complicated? That was the biggest thing for me, is whether or not they have or not. And this is, so let's go back to, and you do love a fan layout? Yeah, me too, man. I can't get enough. And fan layouts are probably pretty boring for the most part. But so I'm gonna jump over to this real quick. This is another example of one that I played. I don't read the rules of tables. I like games that explain themselves in various ways that you can learn while you play. Pinball Wizard, yes, I agree with that. I don't want to read a thesis to be able to learn how to play a table. And some of these tables nowadays are incredibly difficult. They are seriously complex. And then you have something like this that you go and you just play it and it just works. This is Scared Stiff. The actual table. We're getting it on October 16th. Sorry about the fan there. That is actually that is not in the table. This table is so incredibly playful and so fun. I must have played this table for over an hour yesterday and just enjoyed the heck out of it. The callouts are fantastic. We are getting an absolute gem of a table. Elvira, this is a fun table. The animation on the DMD is first rate. I don't know that there's a better table that we could have gotten from the Classic Williams series than the Elvira. And it's not one that, I'm not even talking about the IP itself, but the table themselves are really good tables. They're fun. They're smooth. They flow nice. I mean, everything about this table is really, really cool. Look at the light show that you're getting. You don't have major color shifts in this one necessarily. I don't think they have that ability necessarily back then. But they did a lot with. This one has all kinds of kinesthetic things, like you're hitting the leapers, those things you hit the post and thing popped out of the table, and you just have I zoomed it up here a little bit and got a little bit better view of it. It's it's a really cool table. I mean, I couldn't speak enough about how pinball tables have changed over the last 20 years or so. When you really started looking at tables from the 80s and 90s, I think all these classics that we're getting on the 4KP really speak to that and how much we love them. And then you jump over to something like these newer tables, King Kong, and I mean Godzilla was one. That table has so many people who absolutely loves Godzilla, and that table to me does not speak to me at all. It seems to be incredibly busy for what it is. It's pretty open in the middle, honestly, but there's everything around the outside. It has all these weird shots. It does have a third flipper. So, and I generally like third flipper, three flipper type of games, and this here's a two flipper game again. So it speaks to a little bit about what that means and what that's like. And I tell you what, tables that are too complicated, I just lose interest in. Sometimes I prefer a simple rule set and some great flowing gameplay. Okay, Mad Ben, I like that. That's kind of where I'm sitting. So I looked at John Borg's table and I just thought to myself, I dig this. This is simple. It's playable. I can freaking play this game. This is something that I want to play. So yeah, we'll go back to this screenshot here just to kind of showcase it one last time. But man, pinball tables certainly have evolved. That's something that has really been on my mind the last couple weeks in playing more and more tables. And I started to think about all the tables that I like and the tables that I would actually want to own. And I started to think, yeah, a lot of these are more simple tables. So if in the not too distant future I get the opportunity to buy a pinball machine, I'm seriously going to be considering Fall of the Empire Star Wars. It's a great table. So if you're looking at scoring opportunities, let's see. Fall of the Empire has a depth of the number of modes, stacking modes, collection, strategy of achieving double scores during certain modes, etc. Great if you're going to own it forever. Yes. Soggy Bacon, there's the one thing I noticed in the multi-ball for this table. I had multiple multi-ball opportunities during my gameplay, and you can see I did the 30-minute segments of gameplay on my videos. Didn't score a lot of points, quite frankly. I was getting 60 to 70 points, 60 to 70,000 points a lot of times, or million, 60 to 70 million points per game. Some of them were like 25. They just weren't that good. But the game that I did really, really well, I really was following shots. Like I was really started to dial in during the multi-ball modes. If you hit blue shots, those are your big big scores. So you get the 2 millions, the 4 millions, the 5 million, 6 million here and there. If you hit the white shots, I was getting like that would up the value 250,000 points per white ramp or white shots. So every time you get that, you would up your jackpot values. And then when you hit your blue shots, you would start to really capitalize and really collect those scores. And that's what was really, really fun about this table, is that I started to see like, oh man, there's some real opportunities here. Do I hit the blue shots, or do I say, screw it, hit everything white, and then go for the blue shots? Like there started to be a strategy within the strategy for these games. So in my multi-ball mode, I think I actually tagged it in my second video, Epic Multi-Ball. I started to really dial it in, and I was starting to get shots where I was getting 15 million, 19 million, 20 million. My last shot that I missed was going to be worth 35 million points to the Death Star. Those types of shots became awesome. And when I watched, I think you did too, Soggy Bacon, by your comments. You watched one of the developers play it the other day. This dude had 400 million points, and it seemed like every shot he took, he was burying it. Every single time he was hitting every single shot. And all the other three people that were playing with him were struggling to get 70 million points. The one guy got, I think, 200 million points and did pretty well, but the other two really struggled. And I think it's all about that strategy of hitting white shots and then going for the blue shots. And it was just, there was a lot of depth and a lot of fun to it. Fallout Empire has the best art, in my opinion, and the most of the LE features with option to upgrade in the future. And it's going to be really moddable. There's going to be a lot of mods made for this table. Being a Star Wars theme, there's going to be a lot of mods for it, for sure. You seen the dev get over 1 billion? Holy crap. I have to check. Maybe he did get... Was it 1.4 billion? Is that what I... Maybe that's the one I did watch. I'm going to have to look now. Holy crap, man. Put a link to that in my Discord if you get a chance to, so I can make it. I'll definitely check that out. It's insane, and I cannot wait. I hope that this is going to be at the Chicago Gaming Expo for sure. I hope that I can see John Borg and I can shake his hand and say, "Man, thank you for making this an amazing game." The rest of these people be damned. This is a great design. I don't care what anybody says. I like this design. It is a fantastic table. It is absolutely worthy of a game being played. What's up, RTX? The bald guy. I will. Thank you for that, man. I gotta check that out. Dennis M. I'm sorry. I thought you were Dennis B there for a second. There's my second Dennis. We gotta have our second Dennis in here. Awesome to have you, man. I'm just about finished, too. We're just finished up with the final notes here. So, yeah. Real pinball tables. They're a lot of fun. One last thing. I did not cover this, and I wanted to cover it, and I didn't do it. One last thing. For all you people that stuck around for the end, I appreciate you. This is... So, as you know, last week I told you about my first IFPA event. I was very excited about it. Well, I got my rating today, and get this. This is crazy. So, technically, I am a IFPA, or I am technically a pinball professional now, right? If you played an IFPA event, you're technically sanctioned. You've been sanctioned. You're part of the International Flipper Pinball Association, and therefore you have a rank. So here's mine. Look at this, guys. Look here. Yours truly, Retrotech X, Troy Stockwell. This is my real name. I am 13,800 in the world in real pinball games. Now, mind you, the real world pinball rankings, the guys on the right here, I actually beat number 22, Sterling Matosa, a couple different times, almost 3 times in the tournament that I played. Now, granted, 2 of those games were in qualifying, 1 was not, but I have a professional ranking of 13,000. And I want to point out, if you notice here, look at, there is 141,000 players in IFPA, and I am 13,000. So, yes, I suck, right? I was pretty happy with that. I played 1 tournament, finished 7th, and I have a professional ranking. So, anyway, I thought that was exciting. I hope you guys appreciated all of that gloating and showing off of the tables and the rankings and stuff. If you guys watched that video about my first IFPA event, I was super excited about it. So, at any rate, we have gone for over an hour on this show. I typically do not do that, but we had a lot to talk about today. I know I dwelled a lot on real pinball tables, which is not necessarily everybody's forte for this particular crowd. But I did want to bring it up. I did want to start the conversation about whether modern pinball tables are too complicated for the average user and for the real pinball fans. I would think that there's a large group of us who are extremely big pinball fans that simply can't afford a real pinball machine or don't want to get into the maintenance side of that, and that's why we don't do it. And that's why we play digital pinball instead. And I do not think for a second that there is this large... there's digital pinball is seen as second class, quite frankly. And I think that's a real shame. I think I proved in some degree that digital skills do translate to real pinball. It's not perfect. You do need to adapt on the fly and things like that. But it is a thing. You're going to have to adapt your style. The first thing I did when I played Addams Family, for example, is I had to realize, or had to consider the fact that once I had to see what that ball was going to do when it kicked out. Funhouse was another one. When there's that little chute that kicks out a ball directly, and we would dead flip it all day long on a digital pinball machine because we know exactly what that ball is going to do.
will dead flip it to the other side and then hit it from there safely. You couldn't always do that with a real pinball machine. You had to start to play, okay, is that ball going to die and you're going to hit the flipper just right and dead flip and do what I wanted to do? Not always the case. So you have to adapt your skills on the fly in real time. If you're going to play real pinball events, you have to be able to accommodate for spin. That was the one thing that I really noticed on the Star Wars table a lot. Spin of the ball started to really hurt me. The ball wants to spin and it would start to come off the flipper, where in a digital pinball field that would settle down and just stay right on the flipper. So things like that became really apparent. So anyway, that is the conversation. I just wanted to keep it rolling. I thank you guys for all coming out today. I appreciate all the love and support for this channel, and I hope you guys continue to have lots of flipping fun. I hope you have a fantastic week playing Baby Shark. I think we're all sick of how jawsome this week was with Baby Shark. On to bigger things. We're going to get Elvira in a couple weeks. I'm hoping that we get Tropical Deluxe just to clean our palate of some Baby Shark and move on to some other stuff. But thank you guys for coming. And as always, remember, you only need one ball for greatness. Keep plunging. We will see you guys next time. Retro Tech.